Welcome back, Hamish Taylor here, again looking to expand on something we talked about in an earlier video, and that was enzymes. Enzymes are quite possibly one of my favourite subjects within natural health care, and we shouldn't underestimate how important enzymes are. So what are enzymes? Essentially, enzymes are biological catalysts. They are proteins, often requiring a specific type of metal in them as well, zinc, selenium, a couple of examples, and these are called metalloenzymes, but we're going to dive straight into too much detail if I go down that route. But enzymes basically make life happen. Sometimes they're described as the spirit molecule, and that's quite a big claim, but essentially they sit between inanimate and animated life. They make life happen. They are not necessarily alive themselves, but they allow all of our processes to work. And there's going to be another video following on from this using one of my favorite charts that gives you a brief introduction to all of the enzymes that are required just to give us energy. But that's for another time. Enzymes are made of proteins, and if we don't digest our food well, we can't get enough protein into the system and we can't build these enzymes. But I want to put this into the context of a previous video that I talked about, and that was about why we should include some raw food in our diet. And I'm principally talking about raw fruits and vegetables and sprouts and things like that. And I don't mean Brussels sprouts necessarily, I mean sprouted or sometimes called activated food. Now obviously there's going to be a disclaimer here, this is not health advice to the individual for all the reasons that we probably understand now, but I want to get into this whole enzymic process, because understanding enzymes is incredibly important to give you the background of why we need to get excited about them and why we need to incorporate them in our diet. So from a human-centric point of view, there are essentially three categories of enzymes. And I hope this whiteboard system is okay for you guys. It's not as perfect as some of these other YouTubers are doing perfect animations. I haven't got time for that. I'm a busy clinician, and this allows me to be a lot more dynamic if I can scribble and draw as we go along. So essentially we've got three different categories of enzymes from a human-centric point of view. Most people will have heard of the digestive enzymes. So the digestive enzymes are produced by lots of different parts of the body, yes, in the mouth and in the stomach, and mainly by the pancreas and in the brush border of your small intestine. But we'll come to those again probably in another video, but today we're just talking about the whole collective part of digestive enzymes that are allowing you to break your food down to ever increasingly small amounts so that you can get it down to molecular size before you can absorb it. So they're the digestive enzymes. And then we've got metabolic enzymes. And the metabolic enzymes, as I alluded to earlier, are going to be the subject of a big video on my favorite metabolic chart. And we should be properly impressed with these. These are all, as are the digestive enzymes, I hasten to add, they're all programmed for on our DNA. And our metabolic enzymes allow us to do everything. They allow me to stand and move and talk and see, and the same for yourself. So metabolic enzymes are crucial for the human body. They allow us to do literally everything, apart from a bit of passive absorption, to digest our food and obviously provide ourselves and make our own digestive enzymes, but also allowing us to think, to see, to smell, to touch, to feel, to drive our immune system, to digest our food, to produce our hormones, to make absolutely everything work, to our muscle contractions, to our coordination, and they happen extremely fast. But I'm not going to go into that today, but they are very important, and they are again made from proteins. Now the last category from a human-centric point of view is food enzymes. And food enzymes are essentially the metabolic enzymes of the plant. And the problem with enzymes is that they are proteins, and of course that's their strength as well, that's part of why they're so amazing. But essentially enzymes, as they're proteins, get denatured at any cooking above 60 degrees centigrade. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit for any American viewers here, but 60 degrees centigrade is basically hotter than we can tolerate as human beings, but it's certainly nowhere near boiling. So 60 degrees denatures all of these enzymes, and that's part of what the cooking process does, and it can be very useful to help kill bacteria's enzymes, and that obviously denatures the bacteria and therefore sterilizes the food, which can be very, very helpful. And I'm not saying that you need to do all your food cold or raw, because in a temperature and environment like we live here in the UK, eating entirely raw food in the wintertime is extremely tough metabolically, because we're not going to get all the actual just simple heat energy that we need, certainly if we're sitting still a lot of the time. So why is this important? Well, very simply, it's all centers around these food enzymes, because most of us are not eating nearly enough raw food as we should, and therefore our food enzyme levels are extremely low. And that is a problem, because if our food enzymes are low, then we lose a huge amount of the ability to actually digest that food. The food essentially contains within it the enzymes it needs to digest it, and everybody has bitten into, or at least dropped an apple, and a day later it's all gone brown. Or you've seen the browning on bananas, or you've seen pears going brown, and they're going off. And essentially, they're not yet infected with any bacteria or fungi, but those cells within the actual plant or fruit have actually been broken, and the metabolic enzymes have come out and started to literally self-digest that fruit or vegetable. The classic is if you drop the apple and it's gone brown inside the skin part of the apple, and it's not until those enzymes actually break away the skin do fungi that are around everywhere get in, and suddenly overnight your lemon or your apple has completely covered in mold. Obviously it changes the taste as well, and that is not very nice, and we have a natural aversion to these things that have become essentially off or moldy as a result of this bruising. But when we put this food into our body and it's in its raw form, we get a huge amount of these enzymes that help us break down our food. And there was a fantastic book written quite a long time ago, it's linked in my website, called Enzyme Nutrition. Now, I'm just pointing this out because it's a great place to start. Dr. Edward Howell, about enzyme nutrition and how enzymes are so important. And the simple principle process of this is that if our food enzymes are low, then our digestive enzymes have to increase. And that is not necessarily a problem in the short term, and certainly a good compromise for eating cooked food, because you're getting the warmth and you're not getting the bacterial overload possibly, and all of these other elements that are definitely advantageous for cooked food. But we are also using up a huge amount of resources from a finite pool of resources, and that's the key point of this conversation. If our food enzymes are low, we have to make more digestive enzymes, and because that's from a finite pool, that decreases our metabolic enzyme capacity, and it puts pressure on the production of those metabolic enzymes, so we can potentially end up with a lack of immune function, a lack of healing ability as a result of this cascade of low food enzymes, more digestive enzymes needed, and therefore less proteins, less microminerals required to make all these metabolic enzymes, which are so vital for making our body work on every single level. So I wanted to do this quick video just to expand on the video I made previously about why we should include raw food in our diet. And essentially it is because we want to keep the food enzymes as high as possible, minimizing the need for digestive enzymes, therefore optimizing our metabolic enzyme need. So it'll be the subject of another video of how we can overcome these lacks of good raw food in our diet, and how we might be compromised in our older age with our digestive ability through some supplementation, some digestive support to help us improve our stomach acid potentially, and also our digestive enzyme capacity. So yes, there are ways that we can help override that, or at least support it and supplement it, but ultimately you want to chew your food extremely well and make sure that food that you eat every day has a portion of it in its raw form, therefore the enzymes are not destroyed, and that will go a long way to helping keep you awesome and keep you well. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.